Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email us tmosso at the1916company.com. It's in the description below. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any of our platforms. Please reach out to us directly. We are tmosso at the1916company.com. In 1917, Louis Cartier created the original tank watch. In the 1930s, a particularly water-resistant variant was released featuring prominent case assembly screws. In 1998, Cartier launched the Collection Privé Cartier Paris, or CPCP, a decade-long run of low-volume haute de gamme watches, true high luxury, using the classical Cartier forms, but powered by some of the finest movements in the industry: JLC, Piaget, Frédéric Piguet, THA. Of course, Cartier, as part of the Richemont Group, had broad access to the finest movements for the finest styles. And now these are highly collectible, headlined by the watch you see here today. Launched in 2001, the Tank A Vis describes a particular case design rather than a specific complication. Vis, or screws, emulate that 1930s original. This is not a highly water-resistant watch. It's 30 meters, but it is a highly intriguing design with a fascinating complication module and a worthy high horology base caliber. So let's talk about the Tank A Vis with a combination of wandering hours and date. The watch in yellow gold measures a very reasonable 28 millimeters wide. You could see from lug tip to lug tip, extremely short, 40.4 millimeters. In terms of thickness, 8.2 millimeters, with a 19 millimeter spacing between the lugs. I'll throw the watch on my wrist, which is 16 centimeters in circumference. The fit is perfect. Now, the strap is very fresh, which means it's stiff, so I have to pull it tight to give you a realistic impression of the fit. Keep in mind that as this breaks in, it will become buttery smooth, and it won't look so pinched on the wrist. Now, you can see down the barrel, the edge of the case is nowhere near the edge of my wrist. From over the top, which always exaggerates the width of the watch, you can still see that the edge of the case is nowhere near the edge of my wrist. And the cuff shot reveals that the watch is flat, low, and highly cuff compatible. It'll slide under a sleeve. I recommend this watch for men and for women with a minimum wrist size of 13 centimeters circumference. Now, the strap has a nubuck texture, so it's been sanded down a little bit to remove some of the imperfections and flaws at the upper dermal layers of the animal hide. And so we have this medium rectangular scale black matte finish. It is bolstered to add volume, that is to bulk it up so that it actually swells to match the thickness of the lugs. Then it has a monotone stitch with a folded edge, and you can see that there are no perforations in the strap because this watch uses a modern version of the famous 1909 Louis Cartier folding clasp. It was the first folding clasp ever designed for a watch, and in addition to being a historical first, and that's very important on that basis, it has survived mildly modified to this day. So it's a friction fit clasp that snaps together like that, provides quite a bit of security. And then there's a crimping system where you actually feed the strap through, tuck it under, and then you use these two tabs to hold it in place. So there's no gouging of perforations, and you can also see there's no need for minder loops externally because all the excess length is hidden underneath the body of the clasp and underneath the strap. So it's very secure, it's very clean in appearance, and it's true to history. Taking a look at the case, Tank A Vis, not describing, again, the specific model or the specific complication, but rather the way this was all put together. You can see screws in profile, fixing the strap to the case using bars, a very secure system that's more sure and secure than spring bars. The bezel has this almost industrial look with screws fixing the upper bezel to the case below. Case flanks are satinated. You can see that lug hoods, bezel top, and case top are all polished. And then we have, get a little bit closer here so you can better see, we have a faceted synthetic sapphire cabochon. On these, it might even be genuine sapphire, this being CPCP. On something like a manual or a modern-day Santos, I should say, it would be spinel. This might actually be genuine sapphire. Okay, the dial side. We have a lovely rosette pattern guilloche, so you can see it radiates out from the center with a sort of flower petal center, 24-hour format, scrolling or wandering hours. Now I'm going to show you something about this watch. It's got a lovely progression of time as the hours scroll by. And you can see the jump of the unusual vertically arrayed date down at the bottom, which sits in an aperture. You can also see, though the watch does not feature a seconds hand, it does have a hacking seconds function to stop the balance, stop the movement when you pull the crown. Let me see if I can do this with my gloved hand. But you can see the quick set for the date allows you to quick set in both directions. How cool is that? So this is a complication module on top of a base. So you have the module with the 24-hour format wandering hours, and then the date with the double quick set. And on the reverse, you have Cartier 9902MC. Now, at first glance, this may not look familiar, but if you're handy with base calibers, you're going to recognize here that here we have a fascinating cover to the intermediate wheels, and then we've got a crown wheel, barrel, and train reminiscent of a Piaget 437, which is exactly what this is. It is a Piaget 437. So between this click cover right here, the drivetrain, and the geometries, you can recognize that Cartier heavily modified the 2.1 millimeter thick ultra-thin Piaget caliber. I should probably wind this one a little bit more. And so by changing the shape, it fits this case. And then by removing the big mono bridge, Cartier created this individual finger bridge train down to the escapement, added a micrometric rack and pinion style fine adjustment mechanism with that large blue Cartier C. The Cartier monogram was spread across the bridges. And I don't know how well you can see this, but the beveling is a grade above what you would find on the standard Piaget. They also used a contrasting treatment using rhodium on the bridges and then gold on the base plate. So you have a gold base plate and silvered rhodium bridges. It's a gorgeous looking movement with polished screws, solarization on the ratchet wheel. It is manual wind with a 3 Hertz beat rate. All this pivots on 24 joules. It's in a 30-meter water-resistant case. The Tank A Vis, an absolute sight, and I am spoiled for richness here. It has a 43-hour manual wind power reserve, of course, stop seconds or hacking despite not having seconds, and a double quick set in that it'll turn in either direction, quick setting forward and backwards. It is both beautiful and unique. Reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.